very good afternoon to all the audience present here in today's webinar, which is Bridging the Urban and Rural Tourism Divide, the focus on COVID-19 safety norms and community-based experiences. A very important theme. This is a part of our series of webinars that Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship has been organizing under the aegis of NERES, which is the Northeast Entrepreneurship and Startup Summit. I'm Dr. Sriparna Borua from IIE. Now, as we all know, tourism industry is the worst hit by COVID-19 pandemic, and the entire tourism value chain has been impacted. Northeast Assam, we all know, we are all aware that it's only last 3-4 years that the tourism industry was actually picking up. At the same time, with this disruption which has happened, every disruption leads to innovation. And today's webinar, we are looking at new ways of relooking at tourism, exploring the unexplored. And we have today with us 5 panelists, including a moderator who's going to moderate on our behalf. But before we actually start the session, I would request our director, Dr. Abhijit Sharma, to just share about IIE and a little bit about what NERES is all about. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sriparna. Welcome, everyone, to a warm afternoon, to a topic which is very, very relevant, particularly for the Northeast. And thanks to Sriparna and the team at NERES, we have have a galaxy of eminent people, both from the academia and also from practicing people, one of whom is a close friend of mine for fairly long time, Orijit here. So, yeah, I think every one of us, like Dr. Sriparna said, would benefit from this. IIE had been set up in 1994. Actually, it goes much before that, but as IIE, it was set up in 1994. For the past 25 years, the Institute has been working on the space of entrepreneurship, working particularly more with the rural entrepreneurs, the micro entrepreneurs, but somewhere in between, we've been also innovating and doing work on various aspects on area-based entrepreneurship and cluster approaches, etc. Some past 1 year or so, we have been talking with the industry body, FINER, and trying to look at a new group of entrepreneurs, a new breed, the startup people, people who disrupt, people who come or bring solutions rather than problems. Those are a new group of entrepreneurs that we have seen in the space who has come. And we thought from IIE, how do we help them? How do we facilitate and support them? That's how the idea of NERES germinated. As Dr. Sriparna said, Northeast NERES means Northeast Regional Startup and Entrepreneurship Summit. The idea is that we take this group of people through a various selection process and finally award 5 lakhs to 20 people so that they get a startup grant to play along with the idea. The NERES is about providing a platform where this business idea can be translated into commercial venture. This is a first step. We would like to interact and intervene more as we go forward. Many of these entrepreneurs are from the tourism space. And like Dr. Sriparna said, we are all grappling now with a new scourge, if I may say, a new element which is coming, a black swan event, COVID-19. And we are all grappling with that. I'm sure today, with the eminent panelists that we have, with their rich experience, they would be able to throw light to some of these guys who want to take forward their ideas and translate their ideas into commercial ventures, particularly in the area of tourism. As we all know, tourism has a lot of potential. It has been an area which has been growing, but I'm sure that with this new thoughts or whatever comes today out of this seminar, some of the people will be able to pick it up and go forward, trying out new ideas as they go forward. With this, thanks a lot to the entire group of panelists, including the moderator, Dr. Shreya Barbara, who also is a combination of an academic and a practical entrepreneur herself, setting up what we call as a tour operating from long back. So great to see all of you. I'm sure it will be a wonderful afternoon. Look forward to hearing from all of you. All my best wishes. Over to you, Dr. Shriparna.
Thank you so much. Before I introduce the panel members and hand over finally to Shreya, I would also like to introduce to all of you the team behind NERES. We have Amitav Datta, who's there, Anusuya Mahanta, Sagar Kumar, and also Nilutpal, who was coordinating with Shreya and Arijit continuously for making this webinar happen. So they are the people actually behind, they are the force behind. Now, let me start by introducing the panel. In fact, when we went about thinking about how do we organize this webinar, we relied a lot on two persons. One is Arijit Prakasta and Shreya Barbara, because we, in fact, all the webinars that we've had, we've actually relied a lot on the entrepreneurs, because they are the people who actually know whom to invite, what to do, what should be the theme. So likewise, in this webinar also, it was heavily dependent on Arijit Prakasta and Shreya Barbara. Special thanks to both of you. Now let me go forward to introduce the panel members who are here today. We have Arijit Purkayastha, who's the CEO of Koali Travels. He's a chapter chairman, Association of Domestic Tour Operators of India, a face who's been there for last maybe more than 30 years in the travel and tourism of Assam. So welcome, Arijit Purkayastha. We also have with us Nirmala Chaudhary, who's Executive Director, Operations of Jungle Travels India, and the chapter chairman of Northeast Chapter, Indian Association of Tour Operators. He is an executive committee member of Tour Operators Association of Assam too. So welcome, Mr. Chaudhary, to this webinar. Then we have with us Ranjit Das, who's the president of Tour Operators Association of Assam and heads the travel division of Landmark Group of Hotels. So we have Ranjit Das with us. Then we have a seasoned entrepreneur, Amit Agarwal, who's the director of Assam Holidays, and he's a joint secretary of Northeast Tour Operators Association. Welcome, Mr. Agarwal, to this webinar. We also have Ms. Sapna Medhi, who's assistant professor of tourism and travel management at the Funapur College. She's currently doing her PhD from Tata Institute of Social Science, and she aspires to use her research experience for the benefit of the industry, which is actually very great when there's a mix of academics and industry that actually gives adds a lot of value to the entire effort. And finally, I would like to introduce and hand over the entire moderation of the webinar to Shreya Barbara. She's the Chief Operating Officer of Landscape Safari Tours and Travels. She's also the Lady Entrepreneur Officer of Association of Domestic Tour Operators of India, Northeast Chapter. So over to you, Shreya.
Thank you, Shriparna ma'am, and thank you, Abhijit sir. Well, starting this session, today, more than ever before, we must nurture a sense of universal responsibility, and that has to begin nurturing the community. It is my immense pleasure to be a part of this webinar organized by Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship as a part of the NERES Summit. And today our focus is on tourism sector, and the theme of discussion would be bridging urban and rural tourism with focus on COVID-19, the safety norms, and community-based experiences. To take you through this very, very crucial and important discussion, it is an honor to have amongst us the distinguished panelists, Mr. Ranjit Das, Mr. Nirmala Chaudhary, and Ms. Sapna Medhi. Community is our backbone, and to sustain it, we must integrate efforts to bring in economic benefits to our community. Tourism sector too has this responsibility, and the factors that can be to our advantage is our experiential based rural and ecotourism, which we are very, very rich in. As a local entrepreneur of the tourism sector, promoting back to our roots can play a prominent role. Perhaps putting it in a very, very simple words, it would be showcasing our heritage in doing what we do and how we do. It could be as simple as that. And having said that, looking at tourism vis-a-vis the global scenario and the developments, we also have to walk a thin line, walk a path where urbanization is also important in terms of modern infrastructure, the services and other facilities that we have to provide as a tour operator. And further, we are also aware that COVID has really paralyzed us. And post once the doors of tourism opens, there would be changes in various aspects of tourism, and tourism may never be the same as how we have known it till date. And we need to identify what should these changes be in the tourism sector. How do we integrate the new norms of urban as well as rural tourism? These will be questions we need to introspect on the tourism sector, need to think and need to answer as well. Besides the beautiful and the exotic Northeast region that we belong to, is famed for its natural wonders, the flora, the fauna, and the local cultures. And these will be the real future of tourism when the doors open up for the tourists and everybody would want to come and discover these regions. So as an entrepreneur, we need to identify the means to bridge this, the urban as well as the rural tourism with focus on COVID-19. We also need to chart out the safety norms and the community-based experiences. Today, along with the esteemed panelists, we also have two of our advisors present here who's been a part of the advisory committee. May I request Mr. Arijit Burkayasta to give us a background on community-based tourism.
Thank you, Dr. Shreya Barbara. Thank you, Dr. Shiparna ma'am. Thank you, Abhijit sir. Let's take a closer look at what community-based tourism is and how it can benefit both local people and visitors, as tourism should not only benefit visitors but also local communities. Community-based tourism involves giving visitors the chance to meet local people and experience authentic cultural exchange. It's about supporting local-led projects that have a direct benefit for the local community as well as travelers. Community-based tourism can take many forms. Some of the most common types include visiting villages and communities or homestay programs where tourists stay with local families. Benefits of community-based tourism to community for both the local community and visitors, as we said. Environmentally, ecotourism and community-based tourism can go hand in hand. At its best, community-based tourism is sustainable, providing environmentally friendly experience and attractions. This is particularly important as nowadays so many places worldwide are struggling with negative impacts. Environmentally, sustainable project is so important, and this can certainly apply to CBT, that is community-based tourism. For example, the economic opportunity that comes with the CBT can encourage local people away from other less environmentally friendly ways. Maybe it could be poaching or something. In addition, the environmental footprints of community-based tourism is usually smaller than traditional mass tourism approaches. For example, visiting small artisans, example craftsmen like traditional japi makers in Assam, or brass or bell metal, or Assamese jewelry, or many things in Arunachal Pradesh. We have the handlooms, or in Manipur and Mizoram, who have made traditional crafts. Therefore, community-based tourism is good for the planet. As a result, supporting environmentally friendly CBT projects can ensure that the environment as well as other attractions remain for generations to come. Today, more than ever, we believe that it's important for people of different backgrounds, faiths, and nationalities to come together and learn about one another. We believe that this kind of learning can heal divides and create a stronger and more united world. Community-based tourism undoubtedly helps to promote cross-cultural together understanding. It allows people from very different backgrounds to come in respectful environment and engage with one another. We think it is incredible to see people who may never normally have met, spend time together and learn. This helps to broaden everyone's horizon and bring greater interfaith and intercultural understanding. These are certainly lessons that will remain long after visitors have departed from Assam or from Northeast with CVT projects. For many people, travel is not just about traveling in an air-conditioned bus or car, ticking off landmarks from a list before moving on to next one. Instead, many people want to really get to know a place and come to deeply understand it. In this way, tourism can deeply enrich your life and broaden your or our horizons. Undoubtedly, community-based tourism allows you to do this. It gives visitors the opportunity to meet people and learn from them, something which may not be possible with a traditional package tour. CBT allows you to experience a country with your heart, not just with your mind. From visiting traditional artisans to sharing meal with local people, there are many incredible opportunities for visitors to have authentic, genuine experience and come to learn more about different cultures and tourists with not leave the place with only new memories and knowledge, but also new friends. That is very important, my friend. So make new friends. Friends, I'm excited today. Really excited. I'm now going to switch off my mobile. There will be no WhatsApp and listen to three of my favorite speakers, Mr. Ranjit Das, Mr. Nirmal Chaudhary, and Srimati Sapna Mehti. Brilliant speakers who are going to inspire us. We are lucky to have with us three motivational speakers. Over to Shreya. Thank you, IIE, Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship. God bless.
Rightly said, Mr. Rijit. Tourism is more about living on and on in the hearts of the people. Well, that's how we have to develop it on. And now I bring in Mr. Amit Agarwal. Sir, how has tourism scenario changed in Northeast? And what hope would you like to give to the startups and entrepreneurs?
Thank you, Shreya. In the last decade, we have seen a lot of changes what has happened in the tourism sector in the Northeast. Northeast has become extremely popular with people from the whole of India. We can now, for the last few years, see people, tourists coming from South India, Maharashtra, Gujarat, apart from West Bengal and the eastern part of India. This is mainly because of better air connectivity, better rail connectivity, also aggressive promotions by various northeastern state tourism departments at the national level, at the trade fairs and advertisements. Besides the regular tourist places, one thing what I have realized in the last few years, a lot of young generation tourists are now looking at Northeast, especially for adventure tourism, mainly rafting, trekking. We have some fantastic trekking treks. So in the current market, there are very few tour operators who are actually into adventure tourism. So I feel adventure tourism can be a very promising line to work for the startups. The other thing for a startup to consider is the river tourism, mainly in Assam. Again, there are very few operators who are into river tourism. Startup may consider things like dolphin watching, maybe a houseboat concept, which can be used for staying and short distance cruises. I would like to conclude that very good opportunities awaits for startups in tourism sector in the Northeast in the future, with the region offering various interests to appeal to various kinds of tourists, be it adventure, be it culture, be it heritage, be it wildlife, mountains. So it's a very good opportunity for the startups to get into the tourism line, come up with nice creative ideas to promote Northeast and take it tourism professionally. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Amit. Hope in midst of this current situation. Yes, hope should keep us walking on and on different aspects of tourism. Let me begin our discussion session. It is my pleasure to bring in our first speaker, Mr. Ranjit Das, President of Tour Operators Association of Assam. Presently, Mr. Das is the director of Barua and Company, which has their flagship Landmark Hotels brand. Mr. Das is also the head of their travel division. With 20 years of experience in travel and tourism industry, Mr. Das is instrumental in developing products and destination portfolios for tourism in the Northeast states for the company. As a founder member of TOA, and he has been serving as the president of 2 different terms, he has had the opportunity to attend various tourism related forums. He has taken up issues related to tourism in various platforms. He is also associated with FICCI, with the CII, and has served in their tourism committees from time to time. Mr. Ranjit Das has also mentored and guided many tourism students from different universities and institutions in the region in their internship and research related projects. Welcome, Mr. Das. Sir, may I ask you, how can we bring community support system in tourism?
Okay, thank you, Shreya, and good afternoon, everyone. So at the very outset, I would like to thank IIE for inviting me as a speaker in this NERES Summit on tourism. It is indeed a very, good opportunity for me to address a cross-section of people, and I'm happy that a sizable number of students are also participating. So it's a good opportunity for me to share some of my ideas on community-based tourism, lesser-known destinations, and how we can develop a rural tourism sector. So bridging rural and urban tourism. Yes, post-COVID, as we all say, there is going to be a new normal with new standards and protocols in place. But more importantly for us, there is bound to be some behavioral shifts of the travelers. One such shift will definitely be the preference to choose nature, wildlife, and rural settings over crowded urban areas as a next choice of destination. So this change, I think, will definitely be there, and where I think our community-based tourism, our lesser-known destinations will fit in. Assam and the Northeast being relatively less affected from the pandemic, it's likely that the tourists will be preferring our region as an ideal destination, as I had said before. This is where we score by marketing our rural areas and our community-based tourism projects and the lesser-known destinations. And it is the time now to develop these local destinations as a product. We must think in terms of a product, and try to position it. And local communities has to be sensitive on these areas, and they have to be integrated into the supply chain and given the economic rationale of getting a linkage to tourism. So that is very important. They must see the economic rationale. That is very important. Homestays or campsites, local prides, local food facilities, then your cultural heritage sites, craft centers, cultural groups must be included in that product. And this can be done only by involving the local community. Because today's tourists look for experiences. Experience is very important. They don't need to just idle around. They want to get engaged. So that is how we have to keep engaged, by keeping them active all the time while they are in a particular destination. They want to understand the local culture, speak the local language. And they want to try to raise a trust and try to feel that they are liked by the local people. So that is what their feelings are. So we have to engage them. So that is very important. And that is also the authentic experience that is needed. That is what we have to see. That has to be given to them. And this, I think, we can do by a good story of our products. It has to go out. First, we have to take out the stories to the people. Here, I would like to request the students community and everybody else, including me, that these unexplored destinations has to be, properly informed to others. They need to be promoted. And I would advise the students community particularly to make the digital world and the social media as the best practices now. because that is very important. And we have to highlight this rural heritage and promote a local pride and make it a reality, actually. They can do live streaming, they can do YouTube, they can go for digital marketing of this lesser known destination. They can use these medium to inspire, educate, and entertain the people outside, and to let them know what we have with us. Because at this time, during the pandemic, when people are in the lockdown condition, they are all surfing the net. So they will pick up these informations. Then one more thing I want to stress here is the young millennials that we have in a country. The young millennials are in the age group of early 20s to the late 30s. So they're a big chunk we have in India. And a recent study by Thomas Cook said that these young millennials spend at least 35 days in a year either for business or leisure travel. So we have a good chance to target those millennials. And it is likely that these millennials will travel first because of the post-COVID conditions, because they are less, maybe they'll be less vulnerable. Maybe we can't expect the elderly or the very young people to come. So I think the young millennials have to be targeted. So these are the things that we have to take into account post-COVID. Our lesser known destinations, our community-based tourism project, our rural areas. So the time has come to embrace rural tourism and involve the communities as guides, cultural performers, craft makers, provider of accommodation, and get an alternative source of income from the tourists directly or indirectly to them. And we can do that if we have a good product. Time has also come to create maximum awareness of our rural tourism products and bring them to the mainstream tourism. That is very important. And time has come for us to put the hard component, that is the infrastructure, the accommodation, and the soft component, that is the activities and the special events, in the right perspective. Because we know if we have more activities, that is the more the soft components, there'll be more avenues for income for the community. So we have to concentrate on the soft components also, and that is very important. But that is where the economic rationale lies. And time has come for us to expose these rural tourism projects, the community-based tourism, through a CBT fair. We can have an exclusive CBT fair. Maybe I will request IIE to think in these terms, maybe an exclusive CBT fair, because many people within Assam, in fact, we also don't know of so many community tourism projects happening in Assam. Let them come forward, let them show us their products, and we also know them, and we can also throw them out of the state, expose them to our counterparts elsewhere in the country. So these are very important. So a CPT fair can be a new thing that we can try in the near future. I'll just give an example. Haflong. Haflong is it is said that it's the only hill station in Assam. Mount Abu in Rajasthan is also the only hill station in Rajasthan. But look at Mount Abu. People from Gujarat, people from Delhi and beyond, not saying from within the state of Rajasthan itself, thronging there as a summer retreat. We can also promote Haflong. It's a very culturally rich. There are about 9 tribes. Bukis, Dagas, of course, Dimasa is the most dominant tribe. The Khasis, everybody has their own villages, their distinct lifestyle, food, culture. Such a mix we have. We can promote, but only thing is that we don't have the information. It has a very good colonial history. British used Haflong as the education center, the railway track, so much of history. And there is Khaspur in Kachar, which was the last Dimasa kingdom. So that link, but we don't know much about it. So these have to be collected, documented, and thrown into the net so that people know and learn and educate themselves. And that curiosity should be there to come and explore. Just having a website with some unfocused AdWord campaign is not enough nowadays. We need to have more information. We see now most of the old websites, they have this like the distance from Guwahati, 350 kilometers, nearest railhead, nearest airport. I mean, best time of the year to travel. I mean, this is okay. I mean, but we have to need something more, because these destinations we have to promote as a year-long destination. Why can't we have a product activity for a winter, from activity for the summer? I mean, we can have a mix so that we have a year-round destination. I mean, not just a seasonal. So, I mean, these are the areas I think we have to really work, and this is the right time, because post-COVID, as I have told you, these are the destinations that will flourish, and I think we will have to work on these lines. So, before concluding, I just want to leave a thought mainly for the urbanites, actually. A thought from the Nordic region in Europe. The phenomenon of spending time in a second home is an expression of high quality life in the Nordic countries. Nordic countries, including the Scandinavian countries, plus Iceland, Greenland, like this. The people there increasingly divide the time between the urban permanent home and the rural second home. So people use the second home during summer or winter, and increasingly during the weekends or long weekends. So people of Assam, we can also have a second home in a rural place. We can promote them. We can assimilate with the people there in the rural setting. That will be a second home. And we can bring our friends, our colleagues, from all over the country to a second home. Whenever they come to our urban permanent home, we can always take them there. I mean, this is the mindset we ourselves have to create, so that, I mean, the bridge, as we had said about bridging urban and rural, I mean, this is how we go all about. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Such a wonderful insight. Connecting community with economy and local experiences in tourism is so crucial. And taking tourism to the youth is the key to the future. This is really, really wonderful. Now, I welcome our next speaker, Mr. Nirmalya Chaudhary, Executive Director Operations of Jungle Travels India Group and the Chairman of Northeast Chapter of IATO. He is an EC member of TOA and also the founder member of NITO. A postgraduate in tourism management from IITTM, he has worked a few years in Delhi before moving back to Assam in 2002. Mr. Chaudhary was part of the pioneering Assam-Bengal navigation team that established India's first long-distance luxury river cruise company. He has spent many years sailing on the Brahmaputra and the Ganges, leading international river cruise enthusiasts on discovery voyages through the rural heart of India. Mr. Chaudhary has also led tours in Northeast India and Eastern India for Jungle Travels India. Mr. Chaudhary, we say experience Northeast India. How can we connect the experiential essence of tourism with developing the local economy?
Thank you, Dr. Shreya. I am very thankful to you and IIE for this opportunity to address such a fantastic group and in presence of such tall leaders of our tourism industry. I also thank Dr. Avijit Sharma and Dr. Suparna Borua for this opportunity. Perhaps I should be happier that I am able to present my thoughts and ideas in presence of travel enthusiasts and aspiring travel and tourism entrepreneurs of our region, who will, I'm sure, take our industry forward with their innovation, passion for tourism in the years to come. I always felt that tourism to a destination only succeeds if the destination and the people inhabiting the destination benefits directly and indirectly from tourism. The responsibility of both travelers as well as local tourism entrepreneurs increases manifold when we think of a destination like Northeast India, with its salad bowl of hundreds of unique cultures, sensitive ecologies, national parks and sanctuaries, hundreds of species of endemic birds, mammals and orchids, not to speak of ancient archaeological sites and historical sites. Northeast India is truly unique. Here, age-old ways of life and culture still survives the so-called modernity. Our traditional weavings, music, jewelry making, different ways of building houses and knowledge and availability about rare herbs and medicinal plants, all should make us want to protect and preserve our natural and historical heritage to be presented to visitors to our area. I feel true preservation and protection of heritage, be it natural or historical, can only take place when more and more people learn about them and start to appreciate them. This most systematically takes place when a space for sustainable and conscious tourism is established. What better way to achieve this other than rural tourism? The concept of in a post-COVID world where we still do not know when it is going to end, but there is the thought leaders of the industry are already working out what is going to be the post-COVID world for tourism, and how we can engage with potential travelers in a manner that benefits the local communities, the local host communities. Nature-based tourism to wide open places where population is less and there are interesting things to do and interesting things to experience is going to attract people. The previous speaker, my respected Ranjit sir, has already spoken about it. Northeast India, with its per square kilometer population being what it is, Northeast India is the destination that the rest of the country is going to look for. Obviously, domestic tourism is what is going to revive first, and only then the international tourism, maybe in the beginning of 2021. In these times, it is very important that we curate programs and visits to rural areas in such a way, and local entrepreneurs coming into tourism, I feel, should focus on community-based tourism, CBT, as we have already discussed, in a manner that offers direct and indirect benefit to the host communities and engage everybody. The idea is to make sure that whatever is the occupation of the local community members should remain their primary occupation, as well as this tourism should provide them with a sustainable income and additional income. And this will in turn make them more appreciative of their own heritage when they see appreciation for their own music, for their own ways of building houses, their own sustainable practices of disposing of their green waste from their home, etc. That we do naturally and did not know that this is such a novel concept for many of the city dwellers. Then the consciousness of the local communities will increase, and once they start finding appreciation among the visitors, they will be doing this more and ensuring that such existing practices in the rural communities goes on to continue among the future generations. And educating and showcasing travelers about the sustainable lifestyle of the indigenous communities in Assam and Northeast entrepreneurs must ensure the direct interaction with locals. Sometimes what happens is when I or many of my colleagues, when we are guiding a group of visitors, whether domestic or international, it tends to happen that I am, as a guide, is interpreting most of the experiences that clients are having without giving them the opportunity to interact directly with the locals. And that's where the difference lies. That the tourism practices to be established is to be in a manner where clients do not have any barriers between them to interact with their host communities, to learn about their life and culture, and local communities should also be able to ask questions and learn about the life and culture and practices of the visitors. In this way, it is not going to be only the money that is transacting, but also experiences. A close cultural exchange must take place through these concepts. Educating and showcasing travelers about the flora and fauna of Assam and Northeast is a very important part of it all. Hello, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Please continue.
Educating and showcasing travelers about the treasure of flora and fauna of Assam and Northeast India should remain a focus area for all future rural tourism projects. If there is a community with accommodation facility developed, maybe a few households can be selected where they each build one room to host clients with a attached bathroom. Obviously, when visitors come, whether from other parts of India or from abroad, they would be naturally expecting a certain standard of hygiene and facilities. And facilities primarily to do with their shower and WC facilities. Those should be of the best possible order. And within the village, many people can have a few rooms dedicated to hosting guests. And while staying with the community, they should be able to go around the village accompanied by one of the village girls or a boy who knows the names of different plants and trees and different orchids and different vegetables and other medicinal plants that naturally grows around us. And for example, marigold plant, the leaves can be used for so many different purposes, medicinal purposes. If we just go around talking to them about what we have around us, people will start appreciating what they do not have. And if when they are living, if a village community project can smartly pack a small plant from their village as a gift to the departing visitors, it would be something that they will cherish, they will take back home, they will plant it in their home and look after it and always remember the place and the people, place they visited and the people they interacted with. Communities can be encouraged to have maybe dedicate a small patch of land within their area where everybody gives some amount of their labor so that they collectively work to grow different kinds of vegetables. When visitors come, they can join the local community in planting or harvesting vegetables. It is not unusual to meet people in cities like Mumbai or Chennai, where young children, 10-year-old children or 12-year-old children who have not seen where a cauliflower grows, or how does a carrot get harvested out of the ground. They think it comes from a supermarket packed in a plastic bag. These are little things, but interactive things that they will make them understand and appreciate what they are missing, and an appreciation towards rural communities where they would like to go spend more time and make sure that they then, parents themselves and their young ones accompanying them get enriched by these experiences. Cooking demonstrations, if they are staying with local communities, they should be allowed to go into a place where communal cooking is taking place, or stay with the family and go to their kitchen and see how local food is being prepared. While discussing life of that lady, where did she come from, got married into this village, this person came into this village, and how has her life been, what does she do, while experiencing something wonderful being cooked for them. These are experiences that remains with the visitor's mind forever. I have personally experienced certain village tourism, rural tourism concepts where they have established a communal classroom for the evening, where entire village children from early classes, from class 1, 2 all the way to class 10, they all gather together in one communal place to study together. A large long hall divided by small partitions can be built where small classrooms takes place. The older children can teach the younger children. And when visitors come and stay in the village with the community, in the evening there is not much to do. So some visitors might be invited to join these classrooms, go to the young ones, really young ones, and tell them a story. Go to a section of class 6, 7, 8 standard boys and girls and teach them how to speak in English, or do some fun mathematics classes with the children. And this way you are contributing to their experience, making learning easier and taking away the fear of complicated subjects like geography or mathematics or science. You know, and this interaction with the children is something again always remains in the mind of the people, and they might want to come back and tell their friends, go to that place, interact with the locals and experience this. It will change you. There are, you know, these are experiences that a rural tourism project should be conceived with. There should always be something to see, something to do, and something to buy. We should never forget things to buy. Whether it's domestic or foreigners, when you are visiting some such place, you would always want to take back some souvenirs. Souvenirs could be so many different things. Northeast is a treasure trove of different weavings and shawls and mekhela chadars and so many. It's endless. Jewelry, small wooden artifacts, and you know, so many things. Endless. There should be a space where local women and men are, as it is, as their daily practice, they are making these things. If we make sure that these things are also things that people can take back home and use it. For example, if I am visiting with foreigners, they might go mad about looking at a mekhela sadar. But if they buy this and take it back home, they obviously would not be wearing it. Or maybe wear it only once on an India Day or something, and then it remains in their cupboard somewhere. But if we use the same textiles, the same patterns to make table runners, to make cushion covers, to make various other more utilitarian objects for people to take back home, then our arts and crafts have a bigger market, a bigger acceptance, and it goes everywhere. And this is already being practiced by many, but it should be spread way more than where it exists right now. Another very important aspect is a common tendency and a natural tendency for people who have come up with some money to build a house with a brick and concrete because it lasts longer. But slowly, what's happening in case of Assam is slowly we are losing the traditional Assam type houses. That is a unique architecture. That is a very sustainable architecture, almost entirely weather as well as earthquake proof architecture that is slowly disappearing. Now, if we, if we have houses like these where we are hosting people and people are appreciating that these sustainable houses, this architecture is so beautiful and so sustainable. A small portion gets rotten, you just replace it. It's perfectly fine again. And modern amenities can be added within such architectures as well. What happens is people have a newfound respect for their own heritage and they would like to then preserve it for posterity. And the young generation should also come to learn about it and they would like to continue living in a house like that. So these projects must ensure a sort of pride in what we have, instead of looking at others and thinking my house should be like that, built of brick and concrete. Also, this kind of tourism, Northeast should completely veer away from any kind of tourism that floods us. We are a very unique ecosystem of people, natural heritage, as well as human heritage. And we are not geared towards receiving millions of tourists. Our tourism should be high value, low volume. This is what I personally believe in. But we must ensure high value. Only then we can avoid a common future that many other destinations in other parts of India has already suffered. If we remember just a couple of years back, or maybe last summer, in certain hill stations of the northern India, the citizens of those cities are actually coming out into the streets and joining their hands were asking people arriving with their vehicles to go back because they themselves do not have enough water for their own drinking and for their own purposes. and they were unable to sustain such huge influx of tourism. So instead of going their way, we should find our own way. And I think COVID-19 has given us a great opportunity to fashion Northeast in a completely unique and a Northeastern way, where we receive quality tourism, where they interact with our local population, they learn about us, and every aspect of our life, every aspect of our natural heritage, and go back enriched with that experience and send more people. And this in turn will ensure that our traditional architectures everywhere. I just gave one example of Assam type houses, Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur. Unfortunately, most parts of Mizoram has already lost their traditional houses. Not many people build in that manner anyway. It should not happen elsewhere. Nagaland is full, every tribe, every community has their unique way of building their houses and lit their hearth in a certain way and sit around the fire in a certain way. All of those things should remain intact. Of course, we can use modern techniques to build the exact same designed houses in a more sustainable and long-lasting way, and make sure that clients come and find the nitty-gritties of these uniqueness about us and appreciate them. I'm sure everybody will, and will go back enriched, as I keep repeating myself. Rural tourism, most importantly, enhances and revitalizes the community pride, and this should always be there. In the very beginning, I did not say that Northeast is a melting pot of cultures. I do not believe in melting pot concept. I use the word salad bowl of cultures, because in a salad, every element retains its taste, retains its uniqueness, but together they taste so wonderful. Northeast should be treated and conceptualized just like that. Economic benefits will definitely, if properly conceived and marketed, and Ranjita has already enumerated, will definitely flow towards local communities, and everybody will benefit. And that's the future of tourism in Northeast. That is what I believe. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Mr. Nirmadya. It was so wonderful hearing to you, and the unique Northeast India has such a vast range of experiences that can be enhanced and highlighted. And in the process, we help the community and provide the lifelong memories and values to the traveler. We must go ahead with this. Well, let me bring in our next speaker, Ms. Sapna Medi. She is the Assistant Professor of Tourism and Travel Management at Sonapur College. With an industry experience of 4 years in Guwahati and in Delhi, she dedicates herself to enlighten the students with the latest trends in travel and tourism. She is also pursuing her PhD from Tata Institute of Social Science, Guwahati, and being a tourism enthusiast, she aspires to use her research and experience for the benefit of the industry. Well, welcome, ma'am. And how can we bridge the rural aspects with the urban tourism? And as a traveler, what would your safety concerns be when you undertake a tour?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank IIE for having me here and amongst some illustrious people whom I'm still learning from. And thank you to Dr. Abhijit Sharma sir, Dr. Borua ma'am, Arjit sir, and Shreya ma'am. So like my illustrious speakers before me have already covered almost everything. So I'm so happy I'm left with very small little things to say, but I'll definitely try to make it interesting. And well, regarding the question that you have put me, ma'am, I would like to answer the second part first, because when I'm speaking about the second part, when I'm talking, immediately it will encompass the first part that you asked me about. How do we bridge the rural aspects with the urban tourism? Well, as a traveler, well, I'm already making up my mind and I'm already putting my, making my bucket list. So definitely, for me, it will be more of local travel. By local travel, I mean within the territory of Assam itself, because I am so bad in traveling. I haven't been able to travel, and there are so many things to see in Assam itself before I move out. As and when domestic travel or tourism slowly opens up, I would like to prefer more of the state travel. Yes, and then as the first concern, my first concern would be my health, the safety of my health. Second concern, my health. Third concern, my health post-COVID. Yes, these are the three concerns all merged into one concern. So when I'm speaking about my health, definitely there will be a few concerns, a few things that will make my rounds, make the rounds in my brain when I'm deciding to travel. That is, is the destination I'm thinking about safe? Will the accommodation be safe? If I go and stay for a short 2 or 3 night stay, is it going to be safe? Now, who is going to help me out there? Obviously, Arijit sir, Nirmalya sir, Ranjit sir, and anybody who is in this industry, they'll be able to help me out. So the first thing I'll do is I'll call up a tour operator or a travel agent who is well versed with the destination, with the safety norms, with all the precautions that have to be taken in order to make the stay a better one and a healthy one, a fruitful one for the tourist. Yes, so that will be my first concern. Because, and yes, I'll always be concerned about the type of destination that I'll be going to, because like we are always speaking that it will be more of traveling to rural destinations. But when I am required to stay, when I'm required to put up in a particular accommodation, I might as well choose something which is located in the urban center, where I know there might be good hotels who are, in the beginning, I'm not demoralizing all the other homestays or safe or so, but in the beginning, with the resources or with the capacity to set an example of all the kinds of safety norms that has to be followed, which can then be followed by the other organizations. So what I'll be doing is, I might be choosing to stay in an urban facility. Yes, I'll obviously take in the advice of my tour operator because they know best. And then I might decide to fill my itineraries with all kinds of nature activities, visits to nature destinations, and to have community experiences. I am a local of Assam, but still there are so many communities that I haven't interacted with. There are so many things that I have just read about. So this is what I say, this will be my concern. So that is how I think we can bridge the rural aspects along with the urban tourism, because post-COVID, I think urban tourism as it is per se will take a bit of time to grow, and what everybody throughout the industry in India, we are concerned about the growth of the rural tourism or the community-based tourism, which has more scope of growing. But as we are speaking, so does that answer the question? Like, my first concern and my last concern will be my health. That is what, as a traveler, and all the norms. And yes, one most important thing, post-COVID, we can expect, according to me, we can expect a more informed set of travelers, be they local, be they domestic, or as and when the international tourists come up, because they have had time. They have had the resources, because everything is so available, so easily available online, on social media. Everybody is advertising. Everybody is giving out the SOP. Everybody is giving out the guidelines. So it is quite easy for them to have access to all such kind of information. So we can expect a more informed set of travelers who has their own thinking and who would want to have discussions at length with the tour operator before they undertake a travel. And yes, the length of their emails, which focuses more on the experiences that they are giving, along with their health guidelines or along with their safety guidelines, will definitely make me happy. So that is one. So apart from that, when I will be also concerned now, if I move away from my role of a traveler, there are a few other concerns that I want to speak about, or not exactly speak, but share about. So the first thing is, when we're speaking about community-based tourism, and we are talking about safety norms. We are especially focused on the safety norms for our guests and our visitors, which is of primary importance. But when we are speaking about the community, we as the most important stakeholder of the tourism industry, the tour operators, we also have to be concerned about the safety norms which will be applicable to the community. That is one thing. We have to be responsible for that post-COVID. Had COVID not been there, it would have been a different world altogether, but COVID has changed everything. So there are a few things which we have to keep in mind, apart from our own guests, that because it is the community that we are bringing in touch with the guests, we have to be aware about what kind of protocol or guidelines we can apply for the safety of our community. That is one thing. And then secondly, when we are talking about the community-based tourism, when we are talking about the communities which are basically located in rural places, so which are the communities that we are talking about? It comes to my mind that there might be two kinds of communities. Communities which are already aware about the concept of tourism, but which did not feature into the main tourist itineraries as of now, because there were many other demands made by the tourists and we couldn't squeeze in, or their interest when we couldn't bring their interest there. So that community will be aware about the beneficial effects or the economic aspects or the economic benefits that they might accrue from tourism. And what is the other community I'm talking about? These are communities which we are thinking about now, which we are exploring now, because community-based tourism might be the new norm. So everybody has to do their homework. So there will be new destinations coming up, there will be new communities coming up. So in that case, how prepared are they to accept guests? That is one important thing. And post-COVID, the perception of the community, we have to take that into account. Yes, those who know already about the benefits, they might be a bit accepting, they might come forward for the acceptance, but what about the other communities that we are speaking about? We cannot just barge in with a group of travelers, not a group, but with even 2 or 3 visitors, because they might be apprehensive post-COVID situation. So before doing that, we have to have our own homework done. We have to go by certain ground rules. We have to build a rapport with the community so that they are ready to show what we have brought the tourists to experience, whether they be local, domestic, or international, doesn't matter. But they have to be ready to accept, because without the acceptance of the host community, tourism will never be the experience that you wanted to show. So we have to take that responsibility. And now, how do we do that? According to me, because it is not easy, it is not easy to make forays into the community, to make them understand, to bring them into the mainstream. It is not that easy, because all the projects somewhere, if you go through, well, I have been doing, I am pursuing my research, and I'm going, it especially focuses on community-based tourism. So with all the readings that I have done, with the limited readings that I have done, we see that there are certain problems that we can encounter when we are talking about community-based projects. So in that cases, what we can do is we can form collaborative partnerships or alliances. It might not be easy directly for the tourism industry to go ahead, to spend time with the community, to do the groundwork, to make them interact with people. But we have to go about and help them with the capacity building part. So in that case, what can be done? We can forge alliances, we can forge collaborative partnerships, where we can take a partner. It can be anything. It can be an organization, it can be an NGO, if you have trust, whomever you trust. It can be an educational institute, or as IIE has been doing. And then that part can be looked after by them. And then you being, and the tourism industry can definitely help them out with all the different kinds of, the practical part, and then help them in capacity building. And then we can take our tourists and really show them the experiences that we promised them. So these are a few concerns that I have in my mind. So now actually community-based tourism, like Nirmalia sir already said, now is the time to focus. And like Ranjit Das sir already said, how do you position your product? And now is the time to focus on all the things that we had not focused before in Northeast, because everything, even the place where I live can be a destination for someone. How? It is just that we have to bring out what has been hidden. All our villages, they are full with medicinal and herbal plants. So when we are talking about the community, why not use their traditional knowledge? That is one very important part, because all our tribes in Northeast India, they have their own traditional knowledge, which is very interesting even for a localite like me. And there will be many other people who will be interested. So when we are giving a tour or a village walk, why don't we use their traditional knowledge on that? Why don't we try to show them that whatever they are doing is a unique experience? So like Das sir has already said, or Nirmalia sir has already said, their primary activity should be the same. Because post-COVID, we have to concentrate on making this sector more resilient. It cannot be that in another 30, 40 or 50 years, we are struck with the same situation and then we regret that we did not work better in the past. So what? Because this is about NERES and a new breed of entrepreneurs and a new startups, and they have time. This is the right time for them, and they have time to prepare the ground rules, to prepare their own homework, to do their homework before they take their step into the industry. And because it is better now, because you are better informed, you have all the research things out there. And why I say research, because when I was working and when I was studying, after I began to work, after completing my master's, and then I saw that there was a divide between what was being there written for theory and what is there actually in the practical. But then we can no longer take that excuses. We have to inform ourselves with all the research that has been done. Might not be possible, but there are people who will be eager to help them out while we are talking about community-based projects. And so this divide, because when we are doing research, we find out the things why these community-based projects are not working. So we cannot repeat those mistakes again. If we have to build a resilient tourism industry, and when community is our backbone, the community has to be resilient. We cannot let them suffer, because ultimately it is their experience and it is their culture which we will be showcasing to our guests. And they have to be, and that has to be there. Their primary activity has to be there, and this can be only a supplementary income. But when it isn't supplementary income, they will definitely try to conserve their heritage better than natural heritage or their cultural heritage. In this case, I want to say something that is being worked in the conservation arena. There is a writer called Nick Salapaski, and he says that tourism shows a direct linkage between conservation. He normally speaks about conservation in protected areas also, but when we are speaking about cultural conservation, or even when we are speaking about our heritage conservation, tourism shows a direct link. But it is also impossible for the community itself to implement the principles, because they do not have the expertise. So someone has to take it forward. Someone has to have that knowledge. Someone has to help them out with that, so that they can build up, they can be a resilient part of the tourism industry. And everybody has to work in collaboration. So it's time that there is there is a collective effort, and also that there is collaboration between academicians, between researchers, between the industry itself, because the industry will help us with the practical information, and the researchers can guide them with what can be the problems, because based on the research experiences, because lots of researches are being done in the tourism industry itself, and while based in communities. So and yes, there is no shortcut. It might take time, but if we want to make it sustainable, if we want to showcase Northeast or Assam for the beauty that this region is, then we have to take the long road. Because if we take the long road, it will definitely be sustainable, and that is what we want. Like Nirmalia sir already said, we do not want mass tourism actually. That will destroy the essence of the industry itself. And then if the industry is not sustainable, what are we going to show? If our resources are not sustainable, what are we going to show to the tourists? So I think these are a few of the concerns that I have, and I hope I have been able to put it out. Thank you for having me here, for listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Sona. That was really, really wonderful. Thank you for giving us such a insight as a traveler and how entrepreneurs should prepare to welcome tourists. Also to develop measures of concern for the community. This is actually the bridge that we want and that we need to build, you know. So very important. I thank our esteemed panelists for such thought-provoking insights into the community-based tourism and the changes that we have to incorporate in light of COVID-19. Now, I call upon the participants to put up their questions to this esteemed panel of speakers, and our team will now unmute you to raise the questions. Iti akaman ami informal and more relaxed segment or goi asu, so apnaloke iti questions put up korok, and remember amar okaman time limited ase, so kindly ejon participant jate eta question or stick kore. आप लोग अपने comments or your questions post भी कर सकते हैं chat पे, and we will be taking that up one by one. So please shoot your questions.
And you can ask questions also, because we have some time. How much time we have? I think we can extend it. So participants put some questions. I think Hazel said she will put some questions. Arpan is there.